Truth Social.
Okay, so it says it's setting the meeting up, and then
Is it streaming live now?
and it looks like we're live. Would that be true? It says it's setting the meeting up, and then that be true? It says it's setting the meeting up. Okay, I've got like this. Hello, I got this delay going here. We're having issues this morning, everybody. I am picking up an echo somewhere.
Yeah, you've got Facebook open somewhere.
Oh, is that what it would be? Okay.
You've got Facebook open somewhere.
Oh, is that what it would be? Okay, well, I'll shut down both of those. Okay, yep, I'm getting an echo. So guys, and everybody, we needed to switch to Zoom this morning. Yep, I'm getting an echo. So guys, everybody, we needed
In somewhere in your tabs or on your phone or something, you've got Facebook open.
Ah, okay, but now where are we? Are you there? Oh, no.
I think we're fine now.
Oh, you are? Okay, because I now cannot see you at all. So where are you? All right, this is so fun. So Lisa, I can't find, so good morning, everybody. I cannot see anybody. I cannot figure out where we even are. So where would I find us? Give me a quick lesson
You should
on.
click on the Zoom icon down below. You probably will find it.
On the Zoom icon down below. Huh, I don't see that either. Ah, now I found you in the corner over here. Yay, all right.
I'm in the corner.
Like, oh my gosh. So yeah, so everybody, last night I was on our platform that we usually use and it was all perfect. And this morning it is not. They won't even let me open the app on my BeLive platform. So Lisa, I'm actually, so I have a little tiny picture. The arrow is not doing its thing. So how do I get where I can really see you or see the gallery view and see?
Not sure.
I'm not either. All right. Well, I guess I'll just look and say hi to you. And since you're co-host, if the other two gals are able to make it on,
Yeah.
you can let them in, right?
Yeah, or it'll pop up. We'll get through it one way or another.
We will. So I'm glad that you were here. So Lisa's on as co-host this morning. So if whatever happens, she can manage from there. Yeah, this is an encouragement. Let me see here. This is an encouragement to you guys that if you're afraid to start something, you know, issues do happen and you just go with the flow, whatever happens along the way. And today it looks like it's one of those days. Oh my goodness. We have several of these a year. It seems like they're happening a little more frequently, which does not make me too happy, but you know, again, we have to just roll with it and just see.
Oh, whoops, here.
So today, this morning, so who's out there? Truth is, I cannot even see anything. So I can't see the, in our other platform, I could always see your comments. And today I cannot. So let's, I will go back and respond to any of your comments and you can say good morning and whatever you would like to say today. Because today we're doing something a little bit different. We're going to talk about the story of us. Each of us are going to tell like how we met our honeys and any little, I don't know, tidbits about that. This is a Heart Month, Valentine's Month. I told Bill the other day, it's like they make the best over at this candy place just over in the shopping center, and they make the best sugar-free peanut butter. It is so good. And I said, I know it's not Valentine's yet, but it is Valentine's month. So you could give me a box of that candy. and he did. And it's like, yay. So I'm celebrating, like I like my birthday month. So I'm taking, Heart Month, Valentine Month for the whole month instead of just one day. So we'll spread the love and appreciation to the people around us. So Lisa, I'm going to have you go ahead and start if you don't mind. And while you're talking and I'm listening, and our viewers are watching you, I'm going to see if I can't get an actual screenshot of you.
Yeah, but I'm not sure I'm actually on because I'm looking at you on Facebook and can't see myself either. Oh, there we go. Okay, it's switching back and forth between views. Okay.
Okay.
So we're not showing
tell us
side
about
by,
your honey.
we're not showing side by side on the video. We're showing each one of us as we talk.
Oh, I got you. Okay. Okay.
So how did I meet my husband?
Yeah.
It's kind of a funny story, actually. I went to Brigham Young University, and the year that I was attending, I was in and met him. I was attending a physical science class, and we had 1,000 students in there. And the professor was a substitute for the teacher that's normally there. And he was a physics teacher for 400 to 800 classes normally. So he taught our 100 level class at a 400 to 500 level. He just ignored everything in this curriculum and just was going off by himself. And he'd just stand up there and talk and ignore the class. So we were all really bored. Of course, even I couldn't understand what he was talking about. And so a couple of girls and I were sitting in the class and we're scoping out guys. And we saw Paul and I was like, oh, he's kind of cute. And they're like, yeah, he's really cute. And so then we were talking and we we're like, okay, well, whoever can get the first date, we'll all take each other out to a steak dinner, whoever wins. So I was like, cool, I'll do that. So afterwards I followed him up and said, hey, and introduced myself. And from there on, we dated. We never dated anybody else.
Oh, wow.
So,
that is pretty cool. So y'all both finished school there, and then.
Yeah, he finished school there. I finished school at Michigan University, so online.
Oh, because I said, now wait a second. How did that, you separated and you went to Michigan? No.
No, I finished my degree later on, so.
Okay. So tell us then, so y'all got married. Just fill us in on, tell us a little of your story and about your family, because you've done some really interesting, wonderful things for your family.
Well, let's see, where did we go? We were at BYU, then we moved to Washington for a little while. He finished up his last year when we were up in Washington. And then we moved down to UNLV for his master's, where he went into social work at that point, and he's become a clinical social worker. So that's how we got in Las Vegas. But in between that time, we had 4 kids, 2 girls and 2 boys. And I did a lot of homeschooling in between that time, and I worked while I did homeschooling. So it was interesting juggling everything.
I bet. Now, was that when you were doing like the international banking stuff and traveling? Where did that all come?
So a lot of the international banking stuff we did in conferencing. So I did travel, but I traveled mostly up to their conference center, and we would sit at this great big long table with video technology that cost them about $20,000. And we would meet with people around the world in that particular case. So I was at home doing a lot of my work and able to do phone calls and things like that. And then I would take, some trips out. So.
Oh, so the beginnings of what we're doing right now, and it doesn't cost us but about $15 a month.
Yes, was literally something that cost hundreds and hundreds of dollars per month, plus the equipment was $10,000-$15,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so what time frame was that, Lisa? Like 19 what?
Oh gosh, that's way back in 2001 was when I started doing the investment group. Before that, I did a lot of business management and just odd jobs. So it's been a while since I did the routine jobs, but I was in management. I've done anyway, it's a very eclectic background. So basically I did whatever I could or needed to make sure that I could do certain things with the kids. So.
Sure, sure. So you had the 4 kids, and then you had a couple of other children, right?
Oh, along the way, we picked up some off the sidewalk, like literally. Adrian was a young man who lived in our neighborhood, and I came home, and this was when Derek was probably about 10, I think. And he was sitting on the sidewalk, and it was just pouring rain, and it was cold. And so I stopped by and rolled down my window, and I said, "Are you locked out of your house?" And he says, "Yes." And I said, "When will your parents get home?" And he said, "About midnight."
Oh my.
And I said, "Is this something that," I just had this feeling. I said, "Is this something that happens a lot?" And he goes, "Yeah." So I said, "Well, you want to come over to our house and you can have some snacks and do homework with our kids." And I said, and then after this became routine, I said, "You'll have to do chores." And he said, "Okay." And so he just kind of became one of the family, but we've kind of we've collected kids along the way, somewhat that way. So.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. I think that's great, because I think there's a lot of kids out there that, maybe you're in situations where they're, if they're a single parent and they're having to work, whatever hours, and, they do have to work to provide for the family. And, when you can invite them into your house with your kids, for the kids, like, that's a pretty nice thing. It says a lot about you and Paul and what kind of great people you are.
Yeah, Paul, I don't know that Paul ever got a vote, but
well, I think that's true in a lot of cases. I know, same here with Bill. It's like, okay, well, this is what we're going to do now.
Yeah, I'm just trying to see if anybody else is hearing us. So I'm saying hi to whoever's watching us. Looks like we've got a couple of people watching.
Oh, good. Well, as y'all, if you tuned in just in the last few minutes, we had some issues with our other platform. So we're on Zoom, which we're very grateful for, but we cannot read your comments on this on Zoom as you're making them. Lisa looks like she is watching. She can see on Facebook that y'all are commenting. So is there anyone we need to respond to, Lisa, since you can see?
Kathy says good morning.
Good morning, Kathy. Good morning, whoever else is out there. We're glad you're here. So one last thing. So with you and Paul, what are some things y'all enjoy doing together? Do you have certain things y'all enjoy doing together?
The thing that attracted me to him the most was he was able to talk with me and keep up with my, intellectual Olympics. And so we actually do a lot of talking. In fact, that was the funny part at BYU. I'd come home really late at night, and they'd be like, "Ooh, we know what's been going on." I'm like, "Yeah, we've been talking about math and talking about this." And they're like, "Sure."
Yeah, right. We know.
Yeah. So we did a lot of, for months, we would just sit and talk outside in the parks and up on the, by Bridalveil Falls and things like that. We just talked for hours and hours until like 2, 3 in the morning. So.
Wow. So you must not have had curfew at your college.
We did, but it was, you could come in the back door. So. Wow. I was in the towers over what they call T Hall. And so those were 7 stories high, and you just come in the back stairs. You were supposed to be in by midnight, but.
Oh, wow. Well, at my college, we had like 10 o'clock curfew, and there was only one door in, and the house mother was always there checking. It's like, oh my gosh, little Baptist school down in Pineville, Louisiana. And it's like, oh my gosh, what did I do to myself? And in the 4 years I was there, I only snuck out one time, and I was so scared the whole time I was out. And Sherry Ramden, so Sherry, I doubt you're on because I know you have other things, but I'm just going to tell a story. Sherry was always the one who would do everything, and that's like, I'm want to be like her. She was truly fearless. Okay. And in those days, I was not fearless at all. I was always afraid to do anything, and I didn't want to break the rules. And I was a rule follower and didn't know my own mind. It's like, who was this person? But anyway, she said, oh, come on. And so she called me Dee. In college, that was the only time people gave me a nickname and called me Dee. And so, you have to go. And so finally I said, all right, let's go. Oh, I love that background. That's pretty. So we did, and we went out, and it was so much fun. We went out dancing at this like club, and I was a total non-drinker, but I was having so much fun dancing. I love to dance. And then we were coming back in, and I thought, oh, this is it. We are going to get so caught. We didn't. She got us back in, but I never did again because I was so afraid the whole time it wasn't worth it.
Ours was not like this big hard fast rule, so I don't know, maybe it was by the time they realized that they couldn't control something like that anyway. I don't know.
Could be.
So how'd you two meet?
So Bill and I met in Omaha, Nebraska. After I finished school, I went back to Omaha. My dad was in the Air Force, and we were off at Air Force Base, which is in Bellevue, Nebraska, which is a suburb outside of Omaha, Nebraska, for those of y'all who don't know. And after college, I went home and I married my high school sweetheart, which was not Bill. And that lasted about 2 years. And there's reasons for that, whatever. Then I took about 2 years of guilt tripping myself and not going to church. I dropped out of everything because I felt so guilty that I felt like that. And this is a whole other discussion we could go into sometime. But yeah, I felt that I had let God down so much by divorcing that, I knew he loved me, but I couldn't accept it. I mean, I was so programmed in that I was so wrong and so guilty. So it took me about 2 years to finally realize he still loved me, and he was just still waiting on me to step back to him, Yes. So the things that we do to ourselves. And I was working in an apartment building in the office. So I was a leasing agent for apartments, and that's where I met Bill. And Bill's company was the management company, and he actually lived in Kansas City, but came up to Omaha because they managed a variety of properties. So I met him there, and he was like the life of the party. Okay, we would go out, and so I was divorcing at that point. And so we, with the office people, would go out dancing and having a good time and all that stuff. And I thought I really didn't like him. I'm just going to say. I said, this guy is too wild. He just, he just seemed to be dating all the women. And I thought so in the first number of time, I don't know what it was. I just decided I wasn't going to have anything to do with him because I didn't like his behavior or whatever. And then they promoted me to manage a different property. And so then he became because I had several supervisors before him. He was the owner. But then when I went to a property of my own to manage, he became my immediate supervisor. So then I began to relate to him on a different level. And one of the things I remember most about him, and he is still that way today, anytime he goes into a meeting, he always knows the answers before he gets there. It's this most amazing thing. So I remember us having lunch, and he said, well, how are you doing? What do you like about the company? Business questions. So this was a business lunch. We'd not dated or anything. And, what do you want? Where do you see yourself going? Those kind of things. And so I talked about it. And then he pulled this piece of paper out of his pocket that had the questions on it, and that were my answers. It's like he tries to anticipate what somebody's going to say first. And boy, that was a real lesson. I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. So anyway, we began to relate differently and we started dating. So I basically did the proverbial married the boss. So we did.
Seems like it worked out.
Yeah. So 43 years later, here we are. And everybody told me he's too much of a rounder. My mother said, you are crazy, whatever. And now she says, I don't treat him good enough.
Oh, that's cute.
So anyway, so it's been great. But it's a pretty funny road to getting here. And one of the things is that because he's 7 years older than I am. So he, as an owner of a company, was already quite a bit ahead. I mean, I was fresh out of college working in an apartment place. And he just always was able to take me places and do things that I'd just never done before, because I never really had any money. I was just a college student and making my $99 car payment, which was all I could handle. And so it's been a great fun time. So
That's awesome.
How long have you guys been married, Lisa?
Oh, I don't keep track. Paul does. Let's see, 85. So 33 years, I think, 34 years, somewhere around there.
Oh, gotcha. You were married in 85?
Yeah.
Is that what you said? Yeah. We were married in 78. So anyway, so it's been fun. And so for those, and I know we have a lot of single ladies that watch our show, and married ones as well. And so I think part of the thing with relationships in general is really, I think, supporting the other person. So whether you're in a long-term relationship or not, or you're just starting to date someone, or whatever level that you are, really trying to help the other person see their strong points, just being that cheerleader for the other person.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, if we talk about that, the fact is I've had several people who say, oh, I wish I had as easy a marriage as you have. And I just laugh, and I usually answer back with, I wish I did too. Because marriage is complicated, and it's not always peachy keen. Just because you're married for a long period of time doesn't mean you haven't divorced 3 times in between that time in your head.
Yeah, because there's a lot of ups and downs, and you go through the different things.
Yeah.
One of the things that we realized really early, and I'm not sure how we knew this, God just showed us, is that whenever we would go through a hard time, we've been through several, maybe 3 really, what do I call that? Stressful or whatever financial times.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. There's been other things in our marriage that have put pressure on the marriage, but finances tends to be one of the big ones. And what we realized is that if we made sure that we set a time to talk and communicate with each other, in spite of everything going on, and we had Justin within a year and a half after we got married. So we've had the kids ever since we were married, pretty much. And even when we were struggling financially, we would get, and I'm thinking of Chicago was one of the times we went to Chicago for 10 months, and there's so much in that stress in that time. And we would get a babysitter. We had a young girl down the street who would come down, and we would just go out. We went to the local little Chinese place down the road that had a happy hour dinner thing, where we could be away from the kids and actually have a conversation. Because any of you have kids and had them when they were young, you can't carry on a conversation and write down what's going on and a pro and con list or any of that stuff. So somehow we knew that we just had to make that time. And every time we've gone through something like that, we've really been consistent at, separating ourselves out from what's going on, so we can actually look at it and not blame each other. Because, in a marriage, it's not normally, and I'm not talking about any kind of abusive things. Y'all know that. I'm talking about just basic marriage 101 kind of thing.
Yeah, he doesn't roll his toothpaste tube the right way.
Yeah, right. So, what is something that y'all noticed as you've gone along that's helped you when you go through hard times?
Well, we did a lot of the same thing with you. We set up from almost the get-go. We set up Friday was our date night, and we just always stuck to that. We still stick to that. And the other thing is to not go to bed angry. And the other thing is to pray together at night. Sometimes you don't want to. Sometimes the prayer is really short. But, it's really hard to stay mad at each other when you're praying at night together. So,
Oh, that's true. Now that is something I have to say, Bill and I have really never done together. I mean, we pray at our meals and we pray separately, but that is just not something, Bill is not as comfortable in certain situations that
Yeah.
I am. And so we just never have. I've always thought that would be such a wonderful thing to do. Part of it is he goes to bed at 9 and I go to bed at midnight.
The thing is when you pray together at night, you can also pray over each other as well. And there's a part of that helps bond you in a different way,
I would think.
So Paul and I take turns. He's even night and I'm odd night. So.
Oh, wow. Oh, that is great. I love that. Like I said, I wish that was part of what we do. I mean, hey, 43 years is not too late. Maybe I just have to figure out how to make that happen.
Well, and when you want something like that, I always say that you can go above everybody's head and ask, Heavenly Father for it. So, you'd be surprised how many times that when you do pray for something to come and enter between your relationship, praying about it can help that come about. And I tell people all the time, I just go over Paul's head. So.
Yes. Well, and there's no higher authority than going to the Father, our Heavenly Father, directly, right?
Exactly.
And Jesus is our intermediary, our priest, so anyway, well, that is great. That is great. One of the things, Bill and I used to play golf together, and somewhere along the line, I think about the time I became a director in Mary Kay, that stopped because that took more of my time when I was doing it full time. And before that, I had just, I had a sitter that came into the house once a week, and I would go play golf, and then he and I would play on the weekends. And so that was really a fun thing to do. I've always liked movies, but he's not so much, which I've told y'all before. So a couple of times a year we go to the movie, and he's not golfing as much now just because of life. I mean, life changes in your series, your seasons of things, but he's been playing golf since he was 9 years old. So he has always been a really good golfer, and I was just a beginner, but I loved it. It was so great being outside. So, and we've bowled together before. That's something that we enjoy doing. What I'm finding is we're home now together all the time. So we're not really doing as much going out to be together. Does that make sense? So it's kind of changing again. It's like, well, we're together all the time. Do we really need to go out together? But we really do. Saturday, we just, Saturday, I thought there was a meeting at church, and we went to the church and there was no meeting. So we decided we'd go, do kind of some shopping things. I'm looking for a new lamp or whatever. And we were just out most of the afternoon, and it was really great. It's like, we do need to do this, kind of get out, even just get out of the house. Turned out the meeting was on Sunday, so we did go back, but I had not been in a church situation before where the actual meeting was during one of the services. So you kind of went to the early service, then went to the meeting.
Yeah, it's so easy to let the busy consume, your relationship. So you have to kind of keep plans for keeping the romance going and keeping things going.
Yeah, I think that's really important. One of the things, and I know, and Jennifer isn't on here today, but she plans a trip. I mean, at least twice a year, if not 3 times, they go somewhere to do something. And if y'all been watching the show a few months ago, or whatever, it could be 5 or 6 months ago, they just got on the train in Kansas City and went to St. Louis and did some things there, and just some shorter kind of term trips. And so
Paul and I travel quite often, but it's been centered around the grandkids, so
which is great, but not like a trip together.
Exactly. So we started working in little day stops in between so like the other time, one time we went up through Ely and then up into Salt Lake City. So we took a stop there. That was actually just a really fun little stop that we did. And we had a blast. That's all it takes. It doesn't really take long periods of time to have fun. It just takes making a turn here and a turn there in your schedule. So
Yeah, and I agree with you. I think that is important to do. There's a couple at church that I think almost every weekend or every other weekend they're taking like a Saturday day trip to somewhere close around here, because they're both still working, so they do that so they can just kind of get away and relax. And Valley of Fire, is that what that's called?
Valley of Fire.
They've gone up there and told Bill. So Bill and I are saying, okay, well, we should like maybe once a month. I mean, I'm not going to do it every week.
Yeah, I have to admit, Paul and I did a lot more when we were in Washington, but that was like, recreation center of the world. And so I'm kind of hoping that maybe when we're up in Utah, because there's just so many parks and stuff up there, that will increase, because it's a little hard for me to get out here. The weather is either hot or cold.
Yeah, it's almost like you have to drive to someplace.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. At
Like
least
there's
3
Red
hours
Rock
somewhere.
Canyon, but that's kind of hot in the summer and all of that. You're not going to go.
Yeah, we do that a little early, but yeah, because I can't handle the weather over about around 85 to 90. I start getting to where I have to stay indoors. So.
Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, well, we are at the top of the hour. So hopefully, guys, I don't know.
Hopefully everybody's not asleep.
Yeah, really. Did we bore you today? So just thought that, we don't very often just share about ourselves. And it's like, we've been on here, we're in our 5th year. And so after 5 years, it's okay to talk about ourselves and our relationships a little bit, let y'all in on a few things. And we just so appreciate y'all being here. Any last comments you want to make, Lisa? About anything?
Well, my concern is that when we do talk, we're not saying that this is the perfect life or the perfect way to do things, and that there are so many ways to walk in our, in that path with our Heavenly Father. So just because, I have a long marriage doesn't mean that I guess I'm being really sensitive to the fact that I know that there are people. I have a lot of friends who have gone through divorce, and I know it's a sensitive topic to then talk to somebody who's been married for a long time and gives all this great advice. I'm not doing that. Basically, what we're saying is we're grateful for what has happened to us, but trust me that every path that everybody's taking has been one that their Heavenly Father loves them, and they aren't, because I don't want them to feel any of the guilt that you had. I don't think that was the intention of God, to make us feel guilty every step we take. No. And so this is what worked for me. And like I said, our marriage isn't perfect, even if anybody ever thinks that. It's been tumultuous and joyful. So anyway.
Yeah, and that is a good point, because we absolutely would never want y'all thinking, look at us, look, that's not the thing at all. And just a way of sharing, because you guys are so wonderful to come share this time with us. And so just sharing different parts of our lives, and we all have a different journey, and we're all, and we're continuing on. I mean, I'm figuring I'm going to live to at least 100. We've got all these extra years to continue to walk together and on our journeys together. So thank you so much for being a part, and we will look forward to seeing you next week. And as I say on many occasions, life is not a matter of chance. It is a matter of choice. So choose wisely, go out, and reach out to a friend this week. That's what I put in my post today. Friendship is so valuable. I just love Lisa and how close we've become over this time, and many of you that I really know and love and are great friends. So thank you for being here and sharing this time, and go out and make it a great week. Take care. Bye.